following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lawrence. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
It is Talking Cowboys presented by Geico, live and in person from inside the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star in Frisco as the 2021 NFL Draft is in the rearview mirror. We've got our Essilors on. It's got the Seymour, Do More rolling, except for Rob. Sorry, Rob.
It's okay.
It's okay. We'll get you there at some point.
One of these days.
But the NFL Draft is in the rearview mirror. We've got plenty to talk about, and this should be a fun next hour. So stick with us because we're going to break down not only the first round, but we're going to talk about the rest of the draft, what happened on day 2, and then we're going to talk about even some of these undrafted free agents along the way and how these new Dallas Cowboys fit into the new system here in Frisco. Kyle Yeomans alongside Rob Phillips, Isaiah Stanback, and Heckma Harrison. Heckma, right before we went on air, you said you had something to tell us. What is that?
Guys, so something happened yesterday that I got to tell y'all about.
Please.
All right?
Okay.
So I'm official celebrity now. I want y'all to know this. I'm official, right?
We knew that already.
No, you didn't know, because this is the first time I actually got noticed somewhere. Like, straight up, I got noticed. Check this out. So I'm driving to Houston yesterday. and on the way, I got to use the restroom. Right, I gotta go. Right, really bad. And I see a Buc-ee's sponsor. All right, see a Buc-ee's. So I run into the Buc-ee's. Right,
Really bad.
really bad. I'm running fast. Right, and it's not one, and it's a ton of people in the Buc-ee's, and so. And they got these like partitions at the little thing, right?
Sure.
And so I'm standing there and I'm in full on thank you Lord I made it mode. And I'm from the hood, Isaiah, and so my spider senses went off, and I'm like, Heckma, look over your shoulder.
Yeah, bet that.
And I look over my shoulder, and there's the guy standing behind me.
Is he looking over the partition?
No, he's not looking over.
Little creepy.
Little creepy action. But so it's a Mexican fellow. He's an eye patch with the Cowboy star on his eye patch.
He's for the game. He's for the game.
He's for the game, and he says to me, he says, Heckma.
Oh.
And hey, meanwhile,
This is at the stall.
At the stall.
Okay.
And so I'm still
awkward. You have to have a conversation.
All of this is awkward, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And then he goes, Heckma Harrison. So I'm thinking, dude, this guy's about to hand me a subpoena. Something's going on. I don't know what's happening, First of all, I'm in Madisonville, and this guy knows my whole name.
That's a nice Buc-ee's.
Right down the road from A&M?
Right.
Man,
So
that
the guy says,
classic stop.
Heckma Harrison from Talking Cowboys, Isaiah Stanback, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans. So I'm standing at the Buc-ee's he's like, first I got to take a picture, which I'm like, well, not in the bathroom.
Did he do his hands like
Let's
that?
do it outside.
Did his hands go like this in the middle of saying that?
I did not know. No. See, I knew you were going to ruin my whole story.
Man.
But I'm telling y'all, it's just Ramon, my man Ramon.
There you go.
Ramon.
Shout out.
Like
I told him I was going to give a shout out today, so that's my story.
That's
awesome.
I'm just saying, man.
At the urinal?
It was awkward. I'm just telling you, but that's the story. I had to give you the full effect of the story.
We appreciate it.
Straight up guts. By the way, if you guys do see us out in public, feel free to say hi. We don't bite. We love it whenever fans come up and talk, and of course, listeners of the show, because you guys are our favorites. So let's go ahead and dive into what you want to listen to. That was hilarious. I love that. Thank you for
Places
sharing.
you'll meet Cowboy fans.
Oh, it's awesome.
I love it.
Everywhere,
I had no idea, but I know now.
But Heckma Harrison, the celebrity, now here on Talking Cowboys. Thank goodness. Let's talk about round 1 of the NFL Draft.
Amen.
Because things went down on Thursday night that were, 1, unforeseen, 2, unexpected. I guess that's probably the same thing, but I tried to add a different bullet point in there. But 3, something that I know this end of the table is extremely happy about.
Put him on. Hit him with it. Hit him with it.
Hit him with the ass Lord Lindsay.
There it is.
I love it. Hey, yeah, baby.
I will say on Instagram yesterday when you posted you predicted the first round pick, you changed your prediction. The only one that rode through was Heckma Harrison.
Hold on.
Oh, he did now.
No. Listen,
You picked
let me clear that up.
Patrick
I knew you was
Surtain
gonna bring
as
that
our
up. I knew you was gonna bring that up. Let me go
Okay,
ahead.
of course.
Let me go ahead and bring that up. So what I said was I believe that the Cowboys, had they had the opportunity, were going to take Surtain.
That sounds like a
But
prediction.
what I said that
You did.
we should do what?
Parsons.
That's what you would
Okay.
do. That's not a prediction, though.
That's
It
fair.
is. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree.
He was gone, so-
see, here's
we
the
did that.
thing.
We did that on the
I
website.
think I'm
with you, though.
We
I'm
had a
with you. Don't even worry.
We had
I
a
got
story on who you want them to take and who you think they're going to take.
That's
we
very
did
good
two
point.
separate stories.
And
Thank you.
in that scenario where the corners were wiped out, by the way, for those of you who have not heard the story or have seen what happened on Thursday, the Cowboys went up on the clock at 10th overall. Both Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn were picked the picks prior. Horn number 8 to Carolina, and then Surtain was at number 9 going to Denver. And then the Cowboys were stuck there at 10 without their cornerbacks, and they had to make a decision. And basically the decision came down to Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle out of Northwestern, and Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State. They ultimately traded back with Philadelphia, picked up number 84 overall, a third-round pick, extremely smart. Best way to do this whole scenario, because you probably, with those two there, and we knew this too, I mean, we talked about this scenario on a couple of shows, that if they're wiped out and it's Slater and Parsons, they're probably going to pick Parsons because the defense needs that uptick. They need that energy. They need that prior, even though I would probably say I would have taken Slater.
Plus, we know they do mock drafts and all that kind of stuff, just like we do for fun. They talked to Philly leading up and knew that Philly wanted a receiver. So they knew in that situation, in that scenario, we trade back, we're still going to get our guy.
Yeah,
you're not going to lose anything.
And you knew Philly and New York, neither one of them were going to take a linebacker.
No.
It just wasn't going to happen. They needed some depth at receiver. So you, like Rob said, you lost absolutely nothing. Right? You lost nothing, but you gained everything.
Yep. And the thing is a lot of people might be thinking, oh, you traded with a division rival to give him a receiver. He would have gone to the division anyway.
Exactly.
You would have played Devontae Smith, but instead of playing in green, he would be playing in blue. So that's basically what the trade was for. Yep. It allowed you to pick up a third-round pick, which I think is a premium even to move back a couple of spots when you're not going up to get a quarterback, that you don't pay that quarterback tax. So moving back 2 spots, the Cowboys came out on top in that deal 100% because Philadelphia went up, got their receiver, sure. The Giants, of course, as soon as the Philly pick was made and it was Devontae Smith, wide receiver from
Heartbreak
Alabama,
City.
they backed out. I mean, they flooded out. They pulled the eject button. They said, come here, Chicago, get Justin Fields, and they pulled out as much as they could. A really good deal for the Giants ultimately as well. But what are your thoughts on Micah Parsons? I know we've hit this a couple of times, but he is the newest Dallas Cowboy, and now we want him to succeed. We want him to come in and play hair on fire. You want that energy. You want that anticipation. Cowboys fans everywhere pretty disappointed, I think, across the board on Thursday. Let's turn that around because Micah Parsons is a hell of a player. He was 4th on the list of the 4 guys that we thought were going to be, at least for me. I know differently for you guys, he was number 1 on the list. That shows how much of a good player he is. Tell him why the Cowboys fans should be happy that Micah Parsons is going to be wearing the star.
Yeah, I think he was the best selection at that point in time for the Cowboys, and even before that, I know Heck and I were on the same page in terms of his abilities. Right? I mean, he's a big boy. You know, he's 6'4" or 6'3", 6'4", whatever he is, 245 pounds, and the boy has some twinkle toes on him. I mean, he runs a 4.3. Right? So I mean, you factor that in with how not only just his abilities, right, but you factor that in with the other 2 guys that are going to be playing next to him. And also in addition to the fact that the Cowboys have really done a great job of addressing this defensive front, right, which has been the issue. It's the reason why Van Der Esch, is the reason why Jalen Smith, the reason why we were hard on them all last year, because these offensive linemen had the ability to work up to them, and no linebacker is going to be successful when offensive linemen can get up on you. So the combination of his athletic ability, his aggressiveness, right, his tenacity, some of the things that I talked about in terms of what Quinn's looking for. Quinn wants try-hard guys that are talented and athletic, right, and that are coachable. I think that's what you got when you go out here and get this stud of an athlete, that there were only a handful of those in this entire draft.
man, I'm just interested in how he's going to use this weapon.
Yeah.
And the reason why they drafted him is his flexibility. All of the things that he can do. Played running back, played DN in high school, 5-star athlete, the ability to rush from the edge, impact the middle of the field. He has all of those qualities. And the one thing that really tripped me out on draft day was just the opposite of opinion in Cowboy Nation. And I understand.
There was no in between.
No, there wasn't. And I believe that, look, when you start the draft show in October and everybody's talking about a certain guy, it is embedded in your brain that we're going to take that guy. But I just was happy that Will McClay, Stephen Jones, they stayed to their draft board. They knew who they wanted. They knew the guy that was going to be most impactful in this scheme for Dan Quinn, and I think he fits the mold.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about KJ Wright. We were talking, he is that, and that's how the conversation even started from what we needed to do in free agency. How are they going to use this guy? And he's so multifaceted that you can move him to several different places on the field. Look, offenses are coming out with 5 wide, and you got to play a nickel set, and you have to find a way to impact offenses. You have to apply pressure, and I believe that the Cowboys got their guy that they know can be that Scud missile and can impact the game.
I like Scud missile.
Scud.
I like that. I like that. That fits his game to a T. I don't know, Kyle, fans overall. To Heckma's point, I don't think there was a consensus like fans were disappointed with this pick. From fans I talked to on Twitter and interacted with, it's like they're split. There are fans that wanted a corner, thought offensive line might be a need. But there are also fans kind of like me that's like, take an impact defensive guy and I'm happy.
And then you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And I do think, and obviously, media fans can be skeptical when the Cowboys say, hey, he was the top rated defensive guy on our board. That's what they said. I think that's accurate. That is accurate. Now, if a corner if Surtain had been there at 10, that's in play. Because look, in the second round, it was clear they were going after a cornerback. They knew they needed that. And look, the value, we talked about it. Horn, Surtain, the value is there. Those guys are going to be really good if you were going to take them at 10. But Heckma's right. I am really curious to see how they use him. Jerry Jones talked to us after the press conference Thursday night. He was asked about, hey, this isn't a sign that, look, you're disappointed with Van Der Esch, you're disappointed with Jalen Smith. He said, no, he's got a different skill set. And he said pressure, pressure, pressure. So I'm really curious to see. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the edge rusher consistently or the Leo in Dan Quinn's scheme, but I think they're going to use him on blitzes. I think they're going to use him taking advantage of his strengths, and we kind of talked about this with Jalen Smith. Going forward, that's his strength. Now, he off the ball, you talked about his coverage, Kyle. That's something he can improve on. But man, he can impact the game going forward as a rusher. And like Isaiah said, he gets places in a hurry with that 4.3 speed.
If he's utilized the right way, he's a top 5 talent in this draft.
Yeah,
totally. Top 5 talent.
I want people to understand how obviously we're talking about how he may be utilized, right? But understand how he fits into the scheme of this entire defense, right? You've taken care of the guys up front. Right, I feel like we have. I'm not saying that we got to have dominant guys. All we need is guys not allowing offensive linemen up to the second level. Yes. That's ultimately what you need from your defensive line, right? And then obviously some ends to apply some pressure. But when you have these guys on the second level that can shoot the gap, right? When you have these guys on the second level that are all capable of running sideline to sideline, when you have guys that are physical. Oh, and by the way, there's a guy by the name of Keanu Neal that we're going to be having coming down into the box too. So your second level is going to have Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch, Parsons, and Keanu Neal. That's going to be your second level.
And he is a linebacker.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no question about it.
So you're going to have those 4 guys at that level running and hitting people. There's going to be a fast and furious defense, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
No, and I believe just looking at Dan Quinn's and we're going to talk about the interview, but in the interview, him just addressing just the culture change. He realized that that's the one thing that you have to do, the culture change. And you talked about it, Isaiah, like, when you talk about teams like Seattle, what made them who they are? The culture. Yeah. And, man, we just haven't had that edge in the building for a very long time. And I'm not talking about defensive end. I'm talking about edginess as a ball club.
Identity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is your identity? And no one has said, like, look, when the Cowboys come to town, I don't care win, lose, or draw, you better keep your head on the swivel and you better be ducking.
Absolutely.
Right? And you didn't have that attitude. So from the locker room all the way back, man, all of this soft talk and, we need to get a good. No, man. What we need to do is put people on their wallet.
Yeah.
And so that's what I believe the difference is going to be. And that's how I feel like the positive impact that Dan Quinn is going to have on this defense. And look at the guys that they drafted. Edgy guys.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can talk about all the edgy guys. They are guys that you want to take into a brawl because you know what they bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one thing about this draft that for those Cowboys fans that are split, I mean, there's a reason there's a split. We had it on our show. There was a huge split between wanting Parsons and wanting somebody else. But just because you don't want a guy over another guy doesn't mean you hate him. Because I'm not upset with this draft by any means. I don't think Micah Parsons is a bad pick. But if there were the corners there, I would have taken them. I would have taken Slater. There's a lot you can do with Micah Parsons. And if you utilize him, like you said, the right way, even if it's not those four guys on the field at the same time, because there's a very good chance that they take either 54 or 55 off the field.
It's going to be interesting
very good
how
chance.
the snaps are dispersed.
Hey, competition. What did I tell you guys about a long time ago as far as the culture of Dan Quinn? Competition.
Yeah.
And you better show up and you better bring a lunch pill every day. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting next to coach.
And if there's a chance that bringing in a Micah Parsons upticks both Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith,
that's a win.
And they step their game up, that is a huge win for this defense. Because we've seen what this defense and how they can fire on all cylinders if both of those guys are at the top of their game. And that was 2018. You saw that in 2018. If both Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith are playing lights out football, your defense not only going to be 23rd in the NFL, you're going to be a top 15,
and then you add
defense.
two other guys to that group.
Exactly. You got Jabril Cox, you have Keanu Neal, you have Micah Parsons. There's three guys added to that group that could potentially help things
fast,
out.
Man.
I know we're going to go down the list here. Yeah, but Cox, very easily could have been a second-round draft pick.
No doubt.
And he's got a totally different skill set than Parsons, which is really interesting to me. But Keanu Neal, he's going to play. Yep. I mean, he is a Dan Quinn guy. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be on the field. So I'm very interested to see how they work around this. And I think Parsons, we've talked about it. I think you can play him with other linebackers, and maybe you play more base this year because you have more linebackers that can run and make plays and have some speed to them. I
don't know. I can't remember who said it during the draft coverage. I mean, there were 12 hours of draft coverage.
Right.
But somebody said it, if you put Jabril Cox and Micah Parsons together, you had the perfect linebacker. Because, I mean, the size, the speed, and then Jabril Cox, his coverage ability is pretty legitimate.
I feel like if he dropped 20 pounds, he could play safety.
Oh, he really could.
I mean, he's got that type of ability,
And, hey, maybe that's something that they look into. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. And there's a lot of question marks with Cox, and I think his running ability, the ability to stop the run, and the ability to plug gaps is what ultimately led him to falling down draft boards. So there's holes in his game as well, much like there's holes with Micah Parsons. But those two together, I like that pairing a lot.
Yeah.
And if moving forward, if that's your linebacker core, and of course there's decisions coming up, one of them today on Leighton Vander Esch and whether or not the Cowboys are going to pick up or decline his fifth-year option. There's decisions with Jalen Smith going into June 1st and going into this next offseason or in this next season. So if those two are your core, I mean, Micah Parsons, Jabril Cox, if you're linebackers, I'm not necessarily too upset about that, Rob.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think, we're going to go down the list. And there was a pick in the third round where, from a value standpoint, you're kind of like, interesting. We'll get to that. But when you turn around and all that matters, first of all, is what the Cowboys think. And the Cowboys had certain guys valued maybe differently than other guys. But I don't think there's any question that Cox was somebody that could have been easily an early day 2 pick. And so I think when you look at it, I had a feeling, I think there was a vibe there that they were going to hit this draft, just hammer defense early and often. And it does it goes back to the best available thing. Yeah. You're not always doing that because, the odds of the top guy on their board always being defense are 8 out of 11 times. Not likely, but they made a point of, look, we got to fix this. Dan Quinn comes in. We got to add competition. We got to add speed. We got to add edge. I heard more about arm length with defensive players than I ever had in my life.
There was a ton of arm length in this draft.
Yeah, they hit all of those things and gave Dan Quinn something to work with.
Isaiah, they kind of fit that mold. They want the tall, fast guys for Dan Quinn, and they didn't really veer from that a whole lot.
Tall, fast, and competitive. Yeah. I talked about the main thing. The reason why I was so gung ho on Parsons is because you had to solidify your front seven. Right, you needed him. Obviously, you need a couple other instruments in there as well. But you secure your front seven. And why did I say the front seven was so important? Because the front seven makes your secondary better. Right? They make your secondary better. What I knew Quinn was going to come in here and do was get guys out there that were tough, competitive, and long. Just long enough to I used to face Sherman in practice. I faced Browner in practice. These boys was long. They had go gadget arms, right? Yeah. All they want to do is get their hands on you and stop you for half a second. If they stop you for half a second by getting their little go gadget arms on you, you're done. You're done because guess what? Those guys up front are going to get home. And guess what? Their job is so much easier. And why do they go out there and get guys that can catch the ball, DBs that can catch? Because the balls are going to be getting thrown up there in the air. They're not going to be as accurate, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities for picks out there. I
saw a stat over the weekend that the Cowboys allowed it was the second most rush yards in team history, right? But like 1,700 of them were before first contact.
Ooh, jeez.
That's unheard of to me. And if you don't fix that, and we'll get to the defensive line moves they made, Parsons helps in that regard. If you don't fix that,
issues.
You're not fixing your defense, period. So they knew what they had to do going into this draft.
So before we do head into that second segment, by the way, I am watching the chat right now. So if you were watching us live on Periscope, send us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. How did you feel like the Cowboys draft went? I just kind of want to get a gauge of how you guys out there are feeling, how the Cowboys draft overall. We might be able to even take some calls coming up here in a little bit as well. How about that? Let's try and do that when we come back on Talkin Cowboys. We're going to talk about the rest of the draft outside of Micah Parsons, and then we're also going to hit Dan Quinn. What is that scheme going to necessarily look like? Are we looking at a 3-4 moving into the future, or maybe not so much? You're listening to Talkin Cowboys, presented by Geico, here from the Star.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the Star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
We're back here on Talkin Cowboys, presented by Geico from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. Kyle Yeomans, Rob Phillips, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison. Isaiah's got them on, so whether you're watching from home or you're cheering in the stands with Essilor lenses, you can see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and see what Essilor can do for you. See more, do more, Essilor. And the best part about this is that everybody's back in person.
Yes.
2, the NFL draft happened, and I love the draft. I don't know if you guys knew that. You could probably tell.
Yeah.
I love the draft.
Congrats on wall to wall, man.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys
That's
did a
right.
wonderful job.
Definitely.
It was super fun. It really was. I mean, and working with David Hellman, Brian Broaddus, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kevin Turner, Dane Brugler, I mean, those guys are the best. I mean, really are. It's a fun, informative atmosphere. I feel like I learn every time I talk to those guys. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to everybody who was behind the scenes. It really was a group effort, and it was a ton of fun. So I thank you. Appreciate you saying
And Chris
that.
Chris Beam was in here, man.
Big old Beamer.
Yeah, come on now.
Say that one more time, Beam, because I think he just said there's somebody on the phone.
What?
We're able to take calls again on Talkin Cowboys.
This show has never taken a call together, right?
Yes,
Ever.
that is exactly right. We've got Brian from Iowa on the line. The question is, what do you think about the NFL draft? Brian, how are things going?
Hey, it's going pretty good, and I'm very excited about the draft. I'm kind of surprised they got all defense because I thought they would go like a little bit between, but I'm very excited about the draft. My question is, what do you think they will use with Chauncey Golston? Because I watched him play at a Kinnick, and the way I think Dan Quinn's going to use him is what they might have used Michael Bennett in Seattle. You know, if they want to put him on the edge for the run stopping, but if they want to put him in the middle for like be small but speed wise, what do you guys think about that?
I think Michael Bennett was here for a hot second.
Yeah,
a couple years ago. To me, what jumps out is they lost Tyrone Crawford to retirement, and he reminds me so much of Tyrone Crawford in terms of just a high motor, high character guy that, to his point, is going to play multiple spots for you. He's probably an end, Kyle, but he can kick inside.
Yeah, he could definitely kick inside. He's long enough. He's athletic enough. I mean, 84-inch arms. I mean, he's got just bricks, cinder blocks for hands. I mean, this dude is next level strong. The thing is about him is that that's his go-to is stopping the run. So I completely agree with Brian. By the way, Brian, thank you for the call. The thing about Chauncey Golston that I'm really excited about is that versatility, is the ability to stop the run, because you talked about it in the last segment of just how hard it was for this Cowboys defense to get hands on people. That's what Golston does. You turn on the film, he's getting hands on people. He may not actually be making the tackle specifically, but he's in the vicinity and he's able to find a way to get his hands on opponents. And Isaiah, I think that's exactly a good way to say it. Michael Bennett, Tyrone Crawford, kind of those little hybrid inside-outside roles is probably something that would fit really well for Golston.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those versatile defensive linemen, right? So, I mean, like I said, one of the common themes here with Quinn is high motor guys.
Yep.
High motor, great energy, great effort guys. And as you're looking at some of these highlights here, he's aggressive. He's quick off the ball. He's not necessarily a fast guy. He's quick off the ball, but he comes with violent intentions when he gets there, right? And when you have these guys that are playing defense, quote unquote defensive ends, understand that these aren't, when you say a defensive end, there's not just like put your hand in the ground and run around the edge of the tackle. There's in Quinn's system, you're going to see a lot of stunts. He's not going to just line up and just come straight ahead. He's going to have guys that are playing defensive ends. They're going to be doing TE stunts where the defensive end is coming inside and the tackle's going outside, right? And when those guys come inside, their jobs a lot of times are to knock off the guard, right? Be violent, come off, take one side of the guard, run them down the line so that you can get your linebackers. Look at there, linebackers in the gaps, right? So as we start talking about some of these positional guys, understand that nobody's just going to be lining up and going straight ahead.
Yeah, what I love about Chauncey is his bend. His ability to get the edge, set the edge, get around tackles. Yeah. I thought he was quality in that. Again, when you go back to the opinions that people had about him as a pick and where other draft sources had him, I just thought he fit perfectly into our system. You talk about his long arms, you talk about strong hands, all of those things, but his being able to be diversified, to go down to the edge, go down to the 5, the 3, all of those different things that he can do, and also stunting. When you have the athletes that can play every scheme that you want, and you don't have to sub guys in and out. And they got this guy on the field. So this is so this is what this is. You're not tipping your hand, and I think that's what Dan Quinn did in this draft by getting guys that no matter what set you're in, and you ask him questions about whether you play a 3-4 or 4-3, being able to give those multiple looks will give your defense the edge, the competitive edge that you need, because everybody's scheming up for everybody. Don't think that other teams in the NFC aren't combing through all of Dan Quinn's defenses to find out what he's going to do. And it was really ironic when he talked about that, about getting better as a play caller, as a coordinator, and just combing over all of that, getting advice from people. How can I be better? Because he realizes that the league and offenses are changing. So whether it be a 3-4 look, a 4-3 look, either way, you got to have guys that are multiple and diversified to be able to do that.
One of the things, and I talked about learning from the other draft show guys who have done this a little bit longer than I have, but they always say you're watching one guy, another guy sticks out on tape, you should probably circle that guy and come back to him. That's exactly what Chauncey Golston was for me. I was watching Davion Nixon, the D tackle from Iowa, who's wearing 54. I kept being like, wow, what is this 57 doing? What is this 57 guy? Because he's in the backfield a lot. You're going to see him in the backfield a lot, and I do end up enjoying this pick. Brian, thank you for the call. By the way, we got another Brian on the line. This time it's Brian from Vegas. Brian, you there?
How you doing, fellas?
Doing great.
What's up, Brian?
What's going on?
Oh, man, I just had a couple comments about the draft. If you don't mind me taking too much of your time.
Go for it.
I was just wondering, how do you guys feel about the Cowboys? And I felt like they should have been a little more aggressive. And forgive me if I sound a little muffled. Safety first. I got my mask on here.
Good.
I felt like they should have been more aggressive. If you think about, anytime I think about the Cowboys and extra draft picks, I still can't get over 2009, 2008 draft where they had all those draft picks, and Jason Williams was their first pick. And
that's because they kept trading down. Their first pick was in the third round.
Right, yeah, Jason Williams. And when I thought about it, everybody was like Jake Kavanaugh. He was just like, he was hoping that they would trade down with New England. And for me personally, I was hoping that too. Mm-hmm. But I just kept thinking, are they really going to do the right thing here? Because I'm not a fan of just, I want to get this type of player because he has long arms. Who cares? Who the hell cares if he has long arms but he can't play?
Yep.
And I'm speaking of the pick at 99. Mm-hmm. What I would have liked to see the Cowboys do with that third-round pick, we haven't seen these guys on the field, I understand that, but if you're going to, in my opinion, take a third-round pick on a fifth-round player, why not just move up and make sure you get your safety? You're going to go up, in my opinion, to get a lesser corner in what is rumored to be Tyson Campbell in the Jaguars spot. You got the better corner by staying there, but it's no secret that they wanted their safety. I don't care what Stephen Jones says. I don't believe they were going to invest in that safety. Because it's just like, if you know that that's your guy, you can't keep sitting there waiting for him to fall. The draft doesn't work that way. You don't get lucky like that every year and just hope that you can stand down. You're not the Patriots. You're not Baltimore. Those are the only two teams that are lucky like that, that somebody is just going to fall to them and it's going to be the right guy.
Say it with your chest, Brian.
I don't have faith in the Cowboys that's what's going to happen.
Brian, are you talking?
So me personally,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brian. Are you talking about moving up in the second round to get?
You wanted to go up.
Okay.
Right. Get your guy. Don't sit there and think that you're going to be able to get to the America is just going to keep falling to you. I would have liked to seen them go get him, even if you give up a fourth-round pick, because Jabril Cox, in my opinion, the value of drafting him saved their draft. Because to me, I was just sitting there looking like, what the heck are they doing? I'm not a fan of the Parsons pick. Let's be honest. Parsons, to me, is a Sam linebacker that runs 4.3 speed. If he runs 4.5, the Cowboys don't take him. That's my
good point, but he doesn't run a 4.5.
That's two steps.
But there's a lot of people. It's a lot of people in the league that are fast and can't play.
Yeah,
he can't cover. Jabril Cox falls to the fourth round because he's not a good run defender. But Micah Parsons goes 12 and he can't cover the pass. To me, you sit there and take Elijah Vera-Tucker or the kid, the tackle for that went to the Chargers, and then you just keep going. But it seemed like they were too anxious to fix the defense to where I felt like they reached on a player.
Well, I appreciate the call, Brian.
That's fair, but it goes back to depends on how they're going to use Micah Parsons. I don't think they're going to use him and put him in a bunch of spots where he's got to cover.
No.
I mean, name 5 linebackers off top that can cover in this league.
I can only name one.
That can cover these tight ends.
Yeah.
Who can cover these tight ends in this league?
No, and where we had to get better was in the middle of our defense. And guys, and I get the too often used word, you're reaching on a guy. When you talk about the talent that Parsons has, that's not a reach.
No.
And where you can use him in this defense isn't a reach either.
No.
So at this point, he's a Dallas Cowboy. We know exactly what he's going to bring to the table. We all are in a wait and see situation. Again, you could be armchair, GM and all of that. But these guys, this is what they get paid to do.
Mm-hmm.
They put a grade on these guys, and they had Micah Parsons where he needed to be. Had he not opted out, if I think a lot of people would have had a better assertion of what he could do. I just think every highlight we see is a Memphis highlight. And you're like, well, okay, he did that well. He blitzed well, all of that, but maybe he can't cover.
He got fresh legs.
Very, very good points that you just brought up. And specifically, there's 2 things that I want to kind of address what Brian said. First off, saying that Micah Parsons can't play that's inaccurate. He can ball. I mean, this guy is a baller. He was a top 5 talent. The reason why he went 12 was because of the character concerns and because of some of the off-the-field stuff. That's why he fell a little bit longer, and that's not even anything that was going to keep him out of the top 15.
You think him opting out might have hurt too? Just not character,
Very
just
well
lack of tape on him.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. I mean, he was a sophomore. He played 2 years, basically, of collegiate football.
Either way, the boy got film that shows he could play.
Hell yeah.
Either way.
Didn't he win a Buckus? Didn't he a Buckus award?
First sophomore to ever win it.
And they don't just hand that award out the last time I checked.
And last time I checked, some people like him aren't born; they're created.
Okay,
physical specimens. There's good players, and then there's physical specimens who happen to be good players as well.
No doubt.
And you don't pass on guys like that.
He is a top 5 talent in this draft. He just had concerns and question marks around him that kind of diminished his draft stock compared to some of the other players that were available. Now, the second thing he said was talking about being aggressive in the second round and going up and getting a Tyson Campbell type of player. Well, first off, Tyson Campbell was the first player off the board to Jacksonville at 33. You weren't going to get that pick. Jacksonville knew that at the end of round 1. They were like, okay, so let's go ahead and put this in. The card was written up before they went to bed that night. It was going to be Tyson Campbell. You weren't going to get that pick. I mean, the Cowboys, from what I had heard and from the rumors that were around the building, they tried their best to get back up into the 30s to try and go get a safety, go get a Richie Grant or a Trayvon Merrick. I think Merrick was really the biggest target because that was the guy who they had the most interest in going into draft night. They tried to be aggressive, and Brian Broaddus made a great point on this. During the second day of the draft, he said normally scouts, front offices, when they get a chance to sleep on their board, they usually have a guy in mind or 2 that they don't necessarily want to give up. They see there, they get a chance to kind of sit back, look around, and say, okay, that guy's there, that guy's there, that guy's there. I would be cool with any 3 of those guys. It's going to take a premium to make me get out of this spot because I want those guys on my draft, especially when you're up at the top of the second round. Now, there were a lot of trades that happened right there. And even that shows that there was some premium that had to give up. You probably wouldn't have gotten away with it with 99 only. You would have had to give up a next year 2 or maybe something else to try and get up into that realm.
Those are great points. The other 2 things I would add is with Kelvin Joseph in the second round at cornerback, they knew they needed a corner. They knew that they couldn't wait too long to get that position addressed after taking Parsons. And he's a guy they really liked. And they told us, what they said was, even if Merrick had been there, Joseph was the pick. Now we can debate that, but I know. But I do know this. I do know that they loved Kelvin Joseph, and that was a guy they had targeted at 44 because, it kind of like Parsons, hadn't played a whole lot of college football, but fits that Dan Quinn style of corner. Big, physical corner, fast, competitive, takes the ball away a lot. And then, Brian, the other thing he mentioned about, he was referencing Nashawn Wright. At the end of the 3rd round. He said he's a 5th-round player. Cowboys had him rated higher than that, maybe 3rd round, probably 3rd round.
He was 5th round to everybody in the media
Yeah.
But not, I mean, you don't know if he would have lasted to the 4th round.
But Isaiah's talked about it, the type of player, the type of players that Dan Quinn likes in the secondary, that's he fits it to a T. He's 6'4", and he has traits that Dan Quinn thinks they can work with and makes him a higher value to them than maybe other teams. And ultimately, that's all that matters.
That's it.
And I'm not comparing him to Richard Sherman, but just remember Richard Sherman was a 5th-round pick and nobody thought he could play.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he's going to be that. I'm just saying that all that matters is what the Cowboys think, and that's what
all
they
about
value.
scheme, man.
Yeah, and I love his attitude right away. He talked about comparing himself to Richard Sherman, and Richard Sherman.
That was funny.
It was funny. It's a comparison in the back and forth, but a guy comes in and he realizes what his skill set is and what he's going to bring to the table. Look, everybody understands. It's 6'4", 211 pounds, a guy that you can put in zone coverage, a guy that you can even feature in the safety position at 6'4" and can run a 4.4. That means he covers ground. And look, man, whether you know anything about boxing or not, and you talk about reach and length and all of that, look, if I can touch you from where I am and your arms can't get to me, and it's combat at the line of scrimmage. And that makes a difference, whether you believe in that or not. I'm saying he's our guy. He's going to develop into a player, special teams player. We had guys like him in the past. Patrick Watkins, 6'4", 215, a guy that's long and rangy and can make plays. Look, you got to give this guy an opportunity, and there's plenty there. There's a duck that whoever threw that. There's a duck footage, please.
So, and one other thing, Kyle. Sorry, I want to mention what Dane Brugler said on the draft show.
Yeah,
we love Dane. He's great at what he does. He's a class act too. What he said was, go study him yourself.
No doubt.
I had him as a whatever it was, priority free agent, 7th-round pick. I've been wrong before. So we're all going to find out, whether he can play or not.
And I don't know how to make people understand this more. It is so much about scheme than it is just about overall talent.
Yeah.
It's so much more. There's a category of player that's like, hey, this dude is he's a talent. We got to have him, right? We just have to have him because they just don't come across athletes like this. A.K.A. Parsons, right? He's a beast. So he's not only a good player, he's a heck of an athlete. Then you have guys who's like, guess what? There might be overall better players, right? When you talk about the holistically, so it might be better corners. However, this corner is better for us because of the capabilities and the attributes that they have for how we're going to utilize them in our system. If they're more physical up front, maybe they're not the greatest of cover guys, but they don't let people off the ball. Guess what? They're more valuable to us than somebody who's just an overall good cover corner. So it's not just about, okay, how is this person rated? Mm-hmm. How are they going to be utilized in this system? And Dan Quinn knows exactly how he's going to use these guys. He's done it before. He's done it everywhere he goes, and he's going to do it again here where he knows, hey, these type of players are going to work great in my system.
And what I think is very intriguing is the contingent of Cowboy fans that applaud the Jabril Cox pick but hate the Parsons pick. Yeah. When you look, for Cox, the evaluation has been, and you have it there on your board, that weak against the run, but great in coverage. Well, I'm sorry, as a linebacker, you're going to have to be able to stop the run because that's a part of the job, right? Yep. But also being a cover guy, I've never seen any teams that say, our linebackers are a great part of our coverage. Yeah, you're covering a zone. You're covering flat, deep third. It wasn't until the Super Bowl that we see a guy like David cover a tight end, man-to-man. Now, that is a particular skill set that you need, right? But that's just one guy.
So going back to Nahshon Wright in the pick at 99, I don't have a problem with the player they picked. I have a problem with where they took him. That's my biggest
because
thing.
You thought they could just get him later.
Because he could have gotten him in the 5th round. Now, the Jabril Cox pick made me feel better about it because if they wouldn't have taken Nahshon Wright at 99, I wholeheartedly believe it would have been Jabril Cox. So you got him anyways. You got your guy you were going to get in that spot regardless. So I feel much better about it. But in that scenario, at least at the end of day 2, I went home thinking they mailed it in at 99 because they had a good pick with Chauncey Golston. They had a good pick with Osa Odighizuwa. At 99, it felt like they melted in. That was frustrating to me because Nahshon Wright came out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, he's a good player, but is he going to be a 3rd round? I mean, the pressure that comes with a 3rd round pick is immense in its own right. Is he going to live up to that, or is he going to be on the roster in 2 years? That's my biggest question. is why did you decide to use that premium of a pick on him when you could have gotten him in the 5th? That's where I have my pause.
You don't know.
Unless they had some intel that other teams liked him.
That's the only thing
round.
I can think about.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can really think about. Now, Tom from Virginia is on the line. We're going to hit him on the other side of the break, so hang on with us, Tom. We'll get to you coming up in a little bit. Appreciate you guys listening. We are talking Cowboys, and we will be right back with some more fan calls. And, hey, how about some grades here on Talking Cowboys when we return?
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. When there's work to be done, a real workhorse can make all the difference. Like the Range Boss package. Our 5075E John Deere 75 horsepower tractor features a bell spear and loader and starts at $369 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. It works like a horse, so you don't have to.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now, let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here with Talkin' Cowboys, whether you're listening to us here on Talkin' Cowboys or you are working out and listening to music while you work with Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds, you can experience audio at a whole new level with Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds, the official earbuds of the Dallas Cowboys. Hello there, Mr. Heckma Harrison.
And with the 12th pick in the NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys take Micah Parsons, and it sounds like a symphony in my head.
Woo! That was so good. I heard it twice in my ears. I love it. All right, we've got Tom from Virginia on the line. Tom, how are things going with you in Cowboy Land?
I'm not in Cowboy Land.
I know you're not. Tell you that. It's America's team. We're all in Cowboy Land.
Absolutely, and I say that every time I have a chance. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for what you do.
Appreciate that.
You are my lifeline back to Texas. I grew up in Bay City, and I miss the seriousness of football. Mm-hmm. But Mike, Heckma, you just pointed out a good thing here. The 12th pick, they picked Micah Parsons, and the previous caller, a couple callers back, said, why would you pick him if, he's not going to be as beneficial? But in Isaiah, you can probably attest to this. There's people that have a crossover positional training from youth into high school into college and then pro, that if, like, for instance, Micah Parsons was an offensive threat if you look back in his film. He had, I think, almost 1,300 yards one year as an offensive, backfield in the offensive running back.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's one of these things. If you have the physical ability and athleticism to adjust, it helps Micah know where that run's going to go, because as a running back, he knew how to follow the block. He knew where the guard, tackle, or whatever trap they were going to run. He knew. He anticipation that helps him to be more effective in the run. But what was our weakest point last year? Wasn't it stopping the run? Haven't I heard that?
No doubt.
For the last 3 months?
Without question.
And I'm going, you can develop people to, anticipate a pass, screen pass, all these other things. But, where I went to school, and this is crazy, if you wanted to play high school football in Bay City, Texas, you had to play junior high basketball.
Yeah.
And it was because you had to learn to anticipate what is coming. And then it also helped you follow the ball and who was open.
Well, thank you very much for the call, Tom. And Isaiah, yeah, just kind of attesting to what he said. Micah Parsons, the awareness, the quick trigger, that's something you're going to have to see. Because on film it was there at times, but it wasn't completely consistent. I mean, this is a guy, like he said, has been groomed all the way up to be an NFL linebacker at this point. I mean, he's just that kind of player. But you've got to see a little bit of an uptick in terms of the awareness, in terms of the quick trigger. He has it on occasion, but where do you see the biggest improvement of that coming from Micah Parsons?
Yeah, it's just coming and getting acclimated to the environment, right, and getting that wisdom from Coach Quinn and some of the other coaches. Some of LVE and Jalen, you'll be able to speak, give them some knowledge as well. I mean, just when you come into the NFL, you are fresh and you don't have an understanding of what it really means to most people don't have an understanding of what it means to study. They don't really understand film study. They don't understand looking for cues and looking for little things that give you the edge. Once he gets those things and you pair those up with his athleticism, which cannot be taught, you can't teach athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
You can't teach instincts. You can't teach 4-3. You can't teach his ability for some of these running backs in this league to be able to hit the edge and them not be able to get the edge because this guy can stay in their hip pocket. You can't teach those things. So when you factor in the ability to his willingness to learn, and you pair that up with all those attributes, he's going to be a problem. And not only is he going to be a problem, that whole unit's going to be a problem.
I wish Sean Lee was here for one more year.
Yeah.
I wish there was one more year of Sean Lee, or at least at the.
And I think
he
he's
still
around.
He's
still be around.
That would be fine
around
with me.
the organization. But
go.
One of the things I love about him, and he talks about having to play basketball before you play at a senior level at his high school. I love guys that had to wrestle. If you're a wrestler, that means you're physical. You know what that and defensive linemen, offensive linemen with that wrestling background and what they're able to bring from a physicality standpoint. But you're right. There are certain things that you can't teach a guy to do. It's just instinct. It's innate. He does it naturally, right? And his ability to sniff out the run, sprint options, all of those things, you see it show up on tape. His ability to get to the quarterback. He does that consistently. Yeah. All the things that people say about him, misdirection and things like that. There are a ton of linebackers in this league or in college that will take a wrong step and you try and pivot back the other way with a 300-pound person coming down on you. That's a lose-lose situation, right? Yeah. And so it's study wrong, study long. And that's the thing that happens to a lot of guys. But I think the speed of the game won't be too much for him, and those nuanced things that you're talking about. Studying tendencies, being just a student of the game. I think that's what's going to happen to him here in this locker room because Dan Quinn's going to demand it.
True that.
Osa Adigizua was a wrestler, right? I think so. Yeah. Mike is a bowler, I hear. He's a bowler. He loves to bowl. Isaiah.
Yeah. Why you turn your head so fast?
Mr. Parsons, I'm handing this challenge out right now. Welcome you to Dallas with a bowl off. Head to head.
Bum, bum, bum.
He's already taken down Patrick
Did you put
Creighton.
the Essilors back on out? Oh, God.
That's interesting.
Challenge issued.
Man has 5 balls, he said. It's 5 of his own.
That people know about.
That people know about.
You guys don't want this problem.
It's
I want to
definitely
take Kyle,
a problem.
I'm sure Kyle might actually be a two-handed bowler.
Oh,
That'd be
God.
nice.
What?
They give him the rails.
You kidding me?
And the little ramp
bumpers
thing
on the
to
side. I'll get him to just push it down the hill. Yeah, no.
Man.
I almost failed bowling in college, so I'm never going to play you.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. I just didn't show
By
up.
the way, there is some breaking news here on Talkin Cowboys. Sports Day reporting that the Cowboys have declined 5th-year option on Leighton Vander Esch's contract.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not officially from the team. That is from Sports Day, Dallas Morning News, that is actually reported.
If Rob Phillips don't say it, I don't trust it.
It's not official yet, but if that's the case, he was going to be set to make $9.2 million next year. that's, for a pandemic cap, that's tough. That's tough. And then you draft 2 linebackers, and I would not rule out him coming back beyond 2021, but that's a move that you kind of thought was coming, just because of their cap situation.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
It was kind of, at least, especially after the Micah Parsons pick, it seemed like that was going to be a foregone conclusion of maybe declining that. We'll see if it is official along the way.
Yeah. Can I say one other thing about Parsons?
Let's do it.
The sample size, you could look at that 2 ways. Like, he hasn't played a lot of college football, 1-year starter at Penn State. Now you can say, we haven't seen enough of him. You could also say, from, like you guys said, from diagnosing plays and instincts and all that, let him play some more football. Let him get out there and with the coaching and just have more experience, and maybe he's going to develop into more of that from the coverage standpoint, because he's got the speed, he's got the range to go sideline to sideline. So I wouldn't rule out like him getting better. That's the whole point of this thing, is to draft him and coach him up. And they've got a proven staff under Dan Quinn that can do that.
I'm excited, but I'm also super nervous to see what his year 1 contributes are, because of an opt-out, because of how young he was, because of the low mileage in terms of a first-round linebacker.
Rookie of the year?
I would be great. I'd be totally fine with that.
How y'all feel about that?
That'd be great.
It's possible.
Okay.
I'd be excited.
I think he's going to play a lot.
he will play a lot,
Kelvin
no doubt.
Joseph, their second-round pick, hasn't played a lot either.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, why he left LSU and didn't finish season in Kentucky. Now, that jumps out at you, right? But that's another guy who's young and hasn't played a lot, and you're thinking the best might be ahead of him, too, with coaching and more time on the field. So you can look at it one of two ways.
What was the biggest surprise for you guys?
In the draft or with the Cowboys?
With the Cowboys draft.
The 99th pick for me.
Really?
Yeah.
That was mine. That was my biggest surprise.
And I'm only saying that because from people who really study it were just shocked that he was taken as early as he was. Right, was taken as
early. The reaction was kind of like, did they get this wrong? Because everybody
kind
of
like the wrong card.
What happened? Because everybody turned over furniture when that came in. So I agree.
But
what was your biggest surprise?
Cox being there?
That was another surprise.
Simi, the receiver.
Simi Fehoko. I like him.
I like him too, but I know they're going to try to address offensive line, which they did. Defensive line, which they did. But I did not see them spending a 5th on a receiver. I didn't see that coming.
Really? I thought
didn't see it coming.
I thought it was the perfect spot for them to look at a receiver.
Just to add competition at the back end, maybe?
No, I don't disagree with the fact they grabbed a receiver, but just I thought they would have solidified those other positions first. I mean, I know we got it on the back end, but
I mean, you're right. They took a receiver before they took the D tackle, which is my favorite pick, by the way.
Bohanna.
Yeah, and we'll see how it pans out. That's a log jam at that position. But then, and then they take a corner that's going to a guard and a corner that's going to transition to safety apparently before the receiver. After the receiver.
Talking about
I get you. Yeah.
Also, have you bring up the guy Bohannon, man?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's my guy.
That's a big. Old man.
Give me 350 in the middle.
The term trash can full of dirt was thrown around quite a bit on the draft show because that's just what he is. He's a space eater.
What's my favorite? Walmart parking pole.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love it when you say that. He said that one time in a lacrosse broadcast, and I almost fell over.
So guys not moving, and that's what we need. We need a guy that can take on the double team and can push the pocket. We didn't have that last year, and that's what makes the difference when you talk about your linebackers being able to being free to roam, and you get 8 defensive guys in this draft. I think what it did is it put everybody on notice on this team,
absolutely,
and that's why you see the decisions coming down like that. And so, guys, lighting the fire.
There he is, big boy.
Look how big he is. He's got some swag to him too.
Right, he gonna get some Whataburger immediately.
Isaiah, you're exactly right. You said 8 draft picks on the defensive side. Somebody tweeted me right after the draft was over and said, "Who's safe on this defense?" And
it ain't safe.
My answer was tank, but that was it. I was like, outside of that, that's it.
Competition breeds a better team.
Yeah,
right. I mean, this defensive line room now is full.
They have
is Tristan Hill guaranteed to be on this roster?
Yeah, they have 20 defensive tackles, it seems like.
Yeah,
it ain't safe.
Diggy Zua's fun.
It's a good problem to have.
Bohanna's fun.
Defensive end is kind of
Neville Gallimore.
Yeah.
It's not safe. No one's safe, and I think that's indicative of the results that you had last year. If you went into this draft and you got 8 offensive guys, I think you'll be like, "What is going on? We have to get this defense better." So you put guys on notice and said, "That's not going to work. That effort won't work. It doesn't matter if it's Mike Nolan." Dick Buckus. I don't care who you have at defensive coordinator. You're going to have to come and perform next year. And look, I'm waiting. OTAs, 2 a days are going to be fun.
Okay. It is going to be a lot of fun. Now, let's go ahead. I know we're heading into summer break pretty much, but let's give out some report cards on what you think the draft was. Now, I will say and preface this, I'm not usually the biggest fan of draft grades just because you have to wait 3 years to figure out what the draft's actually going to look like. But based off of what you saw and what you've studied and what you've seen going into this draft, what would you grade the Cowboys as? Isaiah, we'll start with you first.
I give it A-.
I like it a lot.
I think we addressed every hole that we had. Every hole that aside from safety, which I think we obviously got that in with some offseason acquisitions.
Washington crisp apple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an apple. Yeah, he's going to take that apple.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, here you go.
I like it.
There it is.
I like it.
And maybe Israel is going to be a safety that competes for time.
Never know.
I don't know. He's with cornerback traits. I like it.
I also think they feel – it also sent me a little bit of a message that they feel good about Kazee and what he could bring.
He's a Dan Quinn guy.
Yeah.
So if he's healthy, he's
going to play a lot.
Starter.
Yeah.
I'm going A- also. So, yeah, A-.
Through the plexiglass, baby.
Yeah, A-. And the only reason why I'm not saying A+ is because they didn't get a safety.
Yeah.
That's the only because I felt like that was the place that we needed to go, but I'm not so hurt about them not getting one that I'm like, oh God, I still feel like there's the free agency approach. There's still going to be guys that are going to be cut from other rosters. So again, if you shore up that front line and your linebackers are there, man, you'll have a little bit of leniency on the back end.
I'll go B+. I love the approach. I said it, just draft defense over and over and over again. I love that. I mentioned off the field, 4th round Josh Ball, their offensive tackle. There's off the field questions there. Now look, they said they did their homework and they feel good about it, so you got to trust that. But other than that, it's not. I'm not comparing it to the 05 draft because that changed the scope of their defense with a future Hall of Famer and guys that really became Pro Bowl guys. But that's what it reminded me of. Like, we have a new coordinator. We're going to kind of a new scheme. We're just going to hammer this thing over and over and over again. I like what they did.
I like it a lot. That's going to do it for us. No, I'm just kidding.
12 hours on the show. You got to tell us what you're doing.
C+ is what I give it. I think it was a good draft because you filled those holes. It had a chance to be a great draft. And I think there were a couple of spots that slipped through the cracks a little bit just in the fact of, one, you didn't get a safety. I really wanted a safety early. And much like, I forgot, I think it was the second Brian. I think it was Brian from Vegas that said it. Like, you wanted him to be aggressive. I wanted him to be aggressive too. I know they tried, but they didn't get through and they didn't make the pick. Because if you would have come out with this draft with Parsons and then let's say like a Richie Grant or a Trayvon Merrick, or you come out and then you go and get one of those corners later on and you still have Jabril Cox, that's an A draft for me. That's a really, really good draft.
But you probably lose 2 to 3 players that you have right now.
You probably would, but you also spent the 99th pick on a 5th round guy that you probably could have gotten there. In my opinion, you're right, but that's what my opinion is it's a C+ draft. Wow. There were places it could have been better, but there were places that it's good and I ended up liking it.
They did kind of speak to that though, why they didn't trade up, because I'm with you. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But Steven keeps referencing the cap in that
we need cheap contracts.
Young players to step in and maybe push guys off the roster, or he even referenced not specific positions, but maybe you get to training camp and preseason, maybe there's some trade opportunities, because you're so deep at certain spots. That requires you to feel great about young guys being able to step in and play, but they seem confident. They've got a defensive coordinator coming in who knows what he wants, and they're going to try to plug holes quickly.
Yeah, I think out of this draft, I like the Parsons pick. I like the Joseph pick. Both of those have question marks around them. I love the Golston pick. I'm a big fan of the Odigizua pick. Didn't really like the Nashawn Wright, but that could come back, and I've been wrong before. And then I loved the Jabril Cox and the Simi Fehoko picks. So it's kind of all over the place for me. Overall, I thought I liked it, or I did like it.
Not even a B-?
No, I thought about a B-.
That's not even passing in grad school.
Yeah, I'd give it a C+.
Wow.
C+. With a chance to get up there and be a B if they show out and maybe see some snaps.
It's the right pick. That one just bothers you. It bothers Broadus.
Yeah,
Broadus was
it
beat
does
red
bother
on
me
the
too.
draft show.
Oh,
on
Broadus was
Friday
done,
night.
man. Oh, it was done. Even out off the show, I mean, he was so mad. He takes it personally because he's a former scout and he had some fun with it. But we had some fun today. How about that? We've got a new draft class. We've got 11 new Cowboys we get to talk about throughout the course of the offseason and heading into the 21 campaign. And I'm sure we'll talk about plenty of these guys for some time to come. But until next week, for Chris Beam in the back, for Rob Phillips, Isaiah Stanback, and Heckma Harrison, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. We'll see you next week on Talkin' Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.